So this is kind of a December-January reading vlog. I'm hopeful that I can get a little bit more reading done this year, but it just kind of depends how the year goes. I started a couple of weeks ago listening to the audiobook for Rose McGowan's Brave, and I started this after Ronan Farrow's Catch and Kill. And Ronan Farrow's Catch and Kill is, I feel like it should be required reading. It kind of makes it so obvious how much of what we consume as news is so dictated by other people, and just also the hideous lengths that people went to cover up the acts of awful people like Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lauer. And anyway, so it seemed to me that Brave by Rose McGowan was the natural next book to read. The trouble is it's a heavy book. She has been through it, and I was going through stuff at the same time. So I've had to step away from that book because I didn't think that I could necessarily... I just don't want to put heavy on top of heavy, basically. But I mean, I can't even believe she hasn't even got to Harvey Weinstein yet. She's not even there. She's just sort of talking about her childhood, which normally in biographies I find the childhood section to be not very interesting. But holy shit, Rose has been through some stuff. She was brought up in a cult. Like, it is crazy. Her life has been challenging. Yesterday I finished listening to The Path Made Clear by Oprah. And this is now, I think, my third Oprah book. And they all kind of feel same. I mean, the reason I go there is because I love Oprah's voice, and because I've seen some interviews and things with her on YouTube where when she gets going on particular topics, I think what she has to say is incredibly valuable, and she has a really profound way of articulating it. And I keep hoping for that in the books. And this book wasn't even 3 hours long. It was almost 3 hours long, but still, it's a very short book. And once again, it was mostly made up of like quotes and comments and things that she'd taken from like her Super Soul Sunday sessions or from various interviews or whatever, and just repackaged in a book. So I just kind of feel like, as much as I love Oprah, it was kind of like a phoning it in book, and it's basically just repackaging content that we've already received and calling it a new book, which is a bit harsh. But I also finished this yesterday, which is Alex McKinnon's self-published book Unbroken. And I finished this in one day, not because I was riveted, but because it's not very long, and honestly I skimmed through a lot of the chapters that were about rugby because I'm not that fussed about rugby, and after you've read a few chapters about rugby you don't really need to read a lot more. But Alex McKinnon is or was an Australian rugby player who in 2014 was playing a rugby match, and I don't watch rugby, but everyone in Australia knows who Alex McKinnon is because some players from the Melbourne Storm lifted him as they were tackling him, and as he was tackled, he kind of fell towards the ground and couldn't correct his own position and ducked his head, and so he had his own body weight, and I think it was 2 or 3 other guys, land on top of him, and he landed right on his neck. And you could tell instantaneously things just were not right, and he's now a tetraplegic. So that's the end of his career. And so this is a book about how important rugby and team playing and everything was to him beforehand, and then life after. And it's one of those ones where I wanted to read it because I remember that tackle, and I don't watch rugby, and you just remember watching with your breath held, like, what's going to happen? How is this guy going to be? Is he going to be okay? And there was this kind of massive period in Australian sport of talking about the safety standards and what can we do more to protect our players and things like that, because also in the same year, cricketer Phil Hughes was hit by a bouncer ball. It was bowled and it hit him in the side of the neck and he just dropped and basically died on field. So it was a pretty hectic year in sport, and it's kind of like, even if you don't watch those sports, if you're an Australian, you remember those moments. So I wanted to read his book. I didn't realize it was self-published, but yeah, I'll do a review for that book, but I finished that one yesterday. I recently started a book called Parkland as well, which is about the shootings in Florida, and it's by a journalist who also spent a lot of time researching Columbine. I did stop reading that, not because I don't want to read it, but because I feel like, I mean, I didn't love the writing style, but it wasn't really enough to actually stop me. But it was more, I feel like I want to know more background before I get involved in that. And it's a tricky topic, and look, this is one of those tricky things about YouTube. Sometimes you want to have these opinions of your own, but you don't want to get destroyed by, you know, people online who have differing opinions, and it's fine to have differing opinions. But like in Australia, we had one mass shooting, and it was like our government turned around and went, right, that's it. None of you can use guns responsibly, so you're not having them, we're taking them away. And for me, it is baffling that America still has the gun laws that they have with such little restrictions that you have to do more to get like a driver's license. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, so I started doing a little bit of research, and so I've got this book which is called Another Day in the Death of America, which I am going to start next. And while I was in that section of the library, this was right beside it. So it's Gun Control, What Australia Got Right and Wrong. So I'm going to try reading those and see if that gives me more of the background before I go into Parkland. But I'm kind of wanting to read books a little bit more like that in 2020. I still want to throw in like the odd fantasy book and things like that, because it's nice to have escapism and things like that as part of your life. But I kind of want to understand more other people's experiences. I want to, yeah, I want to understand a little bit more about other people's cultures and how we got into the pickles that we're in at the moment. But so those are my, oh, I forgot I had this one too. So I also read this one, which is Love Her Wild by Atticus, and who is a Instagram influencer. And actually the reason I got this was because I saw the spine at the bookstore, and there was just something about the girl falling and the title Love Her Wild that caught my attention. And then, like, I've never really bought a book of poetry before, but I mean, basically what I've decided to do is library books only for now, because I have a number of books that I have bought in the last 6 months that I haven't read because I get distracted by other things. And so I just want to focus on reading those and getting through that pile of TBR books that I TBR'd a while ago and then casually walked away from. So let me know below in the comments what you're planning to read for January, and I hope you guys have a wonderful new year and a very safe new year. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and to check me out on social media, which is Instagram and Twitter @PipCoombs.